What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to the channel. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. We are currently on the test server, guys. In today's video, we're gonna have a look to see how exactly is Polymorph changing in Raid Shadow Legends, because their description was rather vague when they said once per enemy turn. I've heard all of you guys having kind of like a different idea, you know, and we want to see what exactly it means for the game. Now, I know all the time you guys are telling me, a lot of you guys, that you're not being affected by Polymorph in the lower tiers of Arena, in Tag Team Arena, in Live Arena. But for the rest of the people that are affected by a lot of Polymorph, by high star blessings, I feel like this can be something concerning, okay? With a hand, they actually changed Polymorph. They nerfed it, rebalanced it. With the other hand, they buffed it back by adding all these stats to all of the blessings, okay? So the most concerning thing is this thing that you're seeing on the screen right now. The power creep. Not only that this will affect the mythical champions like to an insane level, okay? Basically, this will make the mythical champions the GOATs. They might not be just yet, because slowly they're just planting seeds and they're just growing, you know, growing and growing. But in a few months, mythical champions will dominate everything, okay? That's when the Marichka Taras meta will get out of the way, basically. So let's actually talk about Polymorph. So first, you need to understand how exactly Polymorph was working before. How exactly is Polymorph working in Raid Shadow Legends today before this patch comes on Thursday tomorrow? So, Polymorph has the chance of placing a ship debuff on enemy champions for 2 turns whenever they place debuffs on this champion, or when an enemy removes or steals a buff from them. Simple as that. Now, what exactly that means? For example, if we're gonna take in a Ramantu, okay? Ramantu has the A3 skill, which has a chance to remove all the buffs and has a chance to put 1 debuff. It really depends if the enemy has a passive skill or it doesn't, okay? So it's 1 debuff and has a chance to remove all buffs. Now, if you are going against the target that has 1 buff, you will trigger Polymorph on that enemy once for trying to remove the buff, the 1 buff, twice for trying to land the debuff, okay? If you are going against a Polymorph that has 5 buffs, and you are attempting to use this skill again, you will trigger Polymorph once for every single buff. So 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20% for the 5 buffs, 20% for trying to land a debuff. So it's almost guaranteed that you will get Polymorph, okay? And that is only on 1 enemy. If you're doing it on 4 enemies, the chance to get Polymorphed is astronomical. It's set in stone, basically, okay? Now, Plarium added the description to Polymorph that it will only trigger once per enemy turn. So that means that now, that effect where he's going to check for a Polymorph every time I remove a buff or every time I'm doing an action with that same skill is not going to work like that anymore. The description suggests that it will only trigger once per enemy turn, once per skill, rather than once per action of the skill. That's how it will work from here on, guys. At least that's what Plarium is mentioning. Now, a lot of people had the idea that if you have 4 champions with Polymorph in your team, and a champion like Ramantu will go against them, only the first champion will trigger Polymorph, the Polymorph check. If it procs, it procs. If no, it doesn't. And the other 3 champions that have Polymorph will not trigger it again because it's once per enemy turn. But that's not the case. It's once per enemy turn versus each one of the enemies that has Polymorph in the enemy team. So right here, we're going to have the following. We're going to have Angar checking the Polymorph once, Sifi checking the Polymorph twice, Rotos checking the Polymorph the 3rd time, and Gerda checking the Polymorph the 4th time. I actually asked my buddy Victor Test to put a team full of 6-star Polymorph in here so you guys can see what exactly it will happen. Now, in Platinum Arena, guys, the most common offense is double Taras, okay? And it's absolutely busted, absolutely broken. It can almost kill every team in the game. It might take you a bit longer, but it's almost like no counter for that team, okay? And I cannot wait to see that team gone. I'll be very honest with you guys. And I feel like this right here is going to be one of the things that will probably make them a bit weaker. Why? Because now you can get polymorph on everybody, okay? Everybody. It doesn't matter what the champion does. You can get polymorph on all of them because they will all gain the exact same stats. Before, for example, maybe you had a 5-star Son Wukong and you were like, I cannot get polymorph on him. I don't have the accuracy on the polymorph, so I want to have more accuracy on him. I'm gonna go with temporal chains. I'm gonna go with something else. Well, now you actually have extra accuracy on polymorph. So not only that, but now a 5-star polymorph blessing got buffed more than before because you're gaining 75 accuracy. And we all know it. Polymorph all the way up to 5 stars requires accuracy in order to proc, okay, in order to be placed on the enemy. So it's basically a buff on the lower tier of polymorph, and all these champions that before were not running polymorph at 5-star, now when they are at 5-star, will be like, why wouldn't I run polymorph on my Harima now? Because hey, I can just pinch 100 accuracy almost from it, and that will be enough to trigger on the nukers. That will be enough to trigger on most of the enemies and piss them off and give me the victory, basically. Polymorph, guys, unlike a blessing that will be guaranteed 100% chance to proc like a Phantom Touch or on a Rotos, has the potential to turn the fight around and give you the victory. While a Phantom Touch, just because it does that extra damage, is just not enough to turn a fight around, okay? Especially if you're going against an equal opponent. Polymorph can do that. And a lot of you guys that are playing Arena and have a better understanding of Arena than the casual players, and you know exactly what a meta means and how Arena is being played, you will understand this very, very well on how impactful the polymorph blessing can be, right? So, because we were talking about Marichka and Taras, or mainly Taras, right now we're going to be able to quickly try it out and see how it will play out in here. So, if you don't know, Taras places fear at the beginning of the fight, and I actually asked Victor Test to put some champions that will piss off Taras, you know, basically. So let's see how it will play out. You're going to be able to see how it works exactly. So we haven't got polymorphed right now, but it works in the following way. You have the positioning of the champions, and you have Angar in the lead, you have Sif in position 2, you have Rotos in position 3, and you have Gerda in position 4. So now, what it means once per enemy turn is the following. I'm gonna go against Angar. He will attempt to land polymorph. If he doesn't proc, it's fine. We're gonna move to position 2, which is Sifi. She will attempt to put polymorph. If that doesn't happen again, it's fine. We're gonna move over to position 3, which is Rotos. If he doesn't put polymorph, we're gonna go over to position 5, which is position 4, sorry, which is Gerda, and she will attempt to put polymorph on us as well. So right here we had 4 checks, and successfully we got out of it without getting polymorphed. Let's see how often can you actually do that. And then we're going to bring in Ramantu because he has different actions. And again, we got lucky enough to don't be polymorphed. Now my Taras has no gear, he only has the accessories. And I'm not here to try and win the fight against him. I literally just moved the gear from Taras to the king, and we got polymorphed. I haven't even seen who proc the polymorph in here because I haven't paid that much attention, but you guys probably will notice the word polymorph next to the champion that procced it, you know. So 3 fights so far, we got polymorphed once. When the double Taras comes in, of course, the chance for one of them to get polymorphed is even bigger. Again, I haven't noticed who placed the polymorph on me, but somebody did. So 4 fights, 2 polymorph, 2 non-polymorph. Let's give it another go. I'm keeping it on 1x speed, guys, because it's easier for you guys to see which champion triggers the polymorph. Because I am recording it while I'm doing it. It's harder for me. I've just seen that Rotos proc polymorph this time around. And 5 fights, 3 times we got polymorphed. So 3 out of 5, basically. We're going to go and do 10, just to kind of like get a bit of an understanding. And then we're going to change. See if he proc polymorph on him. I've seen the word procking next to her. So 4 out of 6 we got polymorph so far. What about now? What is happening now? Let's see. Angar proc polymorph on him now. So 5 out of 7 we got polymorphed, right? 5 out of 7 we got polymorphed. Let's see if we're gonna go in another time. Okay. So 5 out of 8 we got polymorph so far. Nobody procced polymorph this time around. 5 out of 8 I said, yeah, correct. So we do 2 more fights. It's just to kind of like give us a bit of an idea, you know. Okay. 5 out of 9 we got polymorphed. So it's getting fairly even, you know, like it's almost like a 50% chance for it to happen. At the moment it's a bit more than that. But let's see. Okay. So 6 times out of 10 we got polymorph, guys. Now probably some of you guys will be in the comments, who's gonna have so many 6-star polymorphs? A lot of people, especially if you guys are telling me that you are not getting affected by polymorph. You won't know because you are not engaging with these people that have so much polymorph in the game, in arena at the moment. Live arena, tag team arena, classic arena, you know. But it's true, this is more in the higher end of arena, and you will encounter a lot of people with this. Personally, I do not, you know, like I don't have so many 6-star polymorphs. I don't have so many 6-star blessings. I have Warlord, Marichka, Taras. All 3 of them were purchased with currency, not summoned. And then my baby boy summoned me a Raka, which I don't owe, and I summoned myself 6-star Vlad, the Nightborn. And that's it. That's what I have as 6-star on Legendary Heroes, personally. But a lot of people have 6 stars, you know. So we've done 10 fights with Taras. Now, how we mentioned, he will work completely different. We want to see how exactly he will work as well, because that again is part of my curiosity in here. How exactly is going to work with Ramantu? I'm pretty convinced that it won't trigger on every action anymore like before. But let's see how often we're gonna get polymorph with Ramantu. Let's just say from 10 fights, you know. So we're gonna let it go on auto on 1x speed. And again, the way it will work with Ramantu, he will try to remove the buffs from everybody. I'm gonna let Sifi buff first. So we're removing a lot of buffs, you see. So right now, let me stop it from auto. We remove the buffs from 2 champions only. And that again works based on positioning. So what happened right here, we removed the buffs from Angar. He didn't trigger polymorph. Then we attempted to remove it from Sifi, which triggered polymorph and stopped us from putting it on the enemies. Stopped us from removing the buffs from the enemies. Which means that, again, the skill does not work as we thought. Okay, so that means that my Ramantu has a chance to get polymorph not once per enemy turn, has a chance to get polymorphed for removing the buffs, and then a second chance of getting polymorph for landing a debuff on them. Because if he was getting polymorphed and I had the debuffs on them, that means that it's per enemy turn. But as it looks right now, this doesn't look to me like it's per enemy turn. It's per action again, but maybe not for each one of the buffs individually, once per the enemy turn from the enemy team rather than mine. So it's not triggering for every single buff they have, you know. But it's pretty confusing. I definitely cannot wait to see it in the coding exactly how it is, you know. So I'm definitely gonna be looking into it with Seth to see exactly what we can expect from it. Okay, what's happening now? So they have 3 buffs each, 4 on some of them. So right now we instantly got polymorph just by removing the buffs from Angar. Okay, it's pretty hard to see and understand if what happens is for every buff individually or is not. It's really hard to notice that. Like, you're not gonna just notice it. But so far we've done 3 fights, right? We've got polymorphed every single time. Or were they just 2 fights? We're gonna see the tokens, and again, Angar polymorphed us instantly. Now you've seen we had Sifi, Gerda, appearing like they've got resisted on something. I have no idea on what, because that means that it almost means like, well, I attempted to land Polymorph on the other ones, and they got resisted, but that means that I attempted to remove the buffs from the other ones, but they got resisted. But Polymorph still triggered on me. Polymorph triggered directly from Angar, so that resisted on the rest of the champions. I'm not even sure why it's appearing, because if you get resisted, you cannot trigger Polymorph, because it's not an attempt anymore, basically, you know? At least that's how it was before. If you're resisted, you cannot trigger Polymorph. Okay, what do we have here? Let's see. Buff. Okay, one successful try right here, guys. We managed to land the debuffs, strip the buffs, of course, on everyone except Gerda, okay? Now, Gerda got resisted on the buff removal, and because of it, we were not able to land any debuffs, you know? I do have a fairly decent amount of accuracy on my Ramantu. He doesn't even have a resistance lead. But somebody must have resistance in there, though. Somebody must have resistance in there. So we've done 4 fights. 3 out of 4 we got Polymorph. Let's just be more specific. Let's see this time around. Okay, so we removed all buffs from everybody. Gerda triggered Polymorph. I've just seen the animation. Okay. So 4 out of 5 we got Polymorph with Ramantu, okay? Let's go again. Let's go again. This looks promising, guys, right? Polymorph Nerf. Polymorph Nerf. We haven't even removed the buffs from all of them, just from one. Just from one. And we are a sheep already. Okay? We are a sheep already. Okay. 5 out of 6 we got polymorphed. Looking very promising so far. Exciting. My god, they're just making these blessings more and more powerful. Okay, this time around, we managed to stay safe. Okay, we managed to stay safe. We haven't got polymorphed. So 5 out of 7 we got polymorphed. Two times we haven't. Which is not too bad. We can actually put it on 2x speed. It doesn't matter who's proccing it on us anymore. But again, we got polymorphed. This almost makes me feel concerned that they are still working as before. You know, per buff, which is crazy if it's the case, you know. I'm gonna do a different thing in a second. Once I'm gonna do 10 fights. I'm gonna keep this video a bit longer, unfortunately. But I'm gonna test something else as well. So again, we got polymorphed. 7 times out of 9 times we got polymorphed with Ramantu so far. Now, one thing that people don't really tend to understand, and a lot of people are doing this mistake of where they're saying Marichka and Taras are so broken on their own just because they are broken on their own. People need to understand Marichka and Taras are so powerful because you cannot block their passives. And you cannot do that because of Polymorph, because of Stone Skin, and then you have UDK on top of it. All these factors make the Ukrainian couple as powerful as it is. Now, once you remove one thing out of the equation and you have Ramantu versus them and you lock their passives, they are 15 seconds farms, okay? That's what they are. Just food for Barons, food for Georgids. That's about it. But because Ramantu is not able to lock their passive, makes them almost indestructible. Makes them so freaking hard to deal with, okay? And that is a big, big problem. Now, if Ramantu will slide back in the meta, this will change. But how you see it right here, we've done 10 fights with Ramantu. 8 out of 10, we got polymorph. So there is one more thing that I would like to try, guys. And I'm very curious to see how it will play out from here. So what I want to do is to bring in Arbiter. Hoping that I will have gear on her. I do. Hoping that I'll be faster than them, which I should. And I'm not going to let them buff. Instead, I want to see if I'm doing 10 fights now without them having the buffs, how many times I'm getting polymorphed. So no buffs. We got polymorphed. So 1 out of 1 polymorph. Let's I think I fought. Okay, I need to win. I lost so many fights against Victor Test right now that I need to find an opponent, and I cannot even find an opponent anymore. Right, so a bit of time passed, guys. Banana Jam actually managed to push me back into Platinum Arena so we can continue our testing here. Now, this time around, we're going to go full speed. We don't want to let them buff at all. So we're going to see if Ramantu actually has a lower chance to get Polymorph by any chance. Now, of course, I need to do hundreds and hundreds of runs to really get the exact data out of it. That's not something that we can do. So we're going to have to kind of like approximate it a little bit. Taraz got polymorphed 7 out of 10. Ramantu got polymorphed 8 out of 10 before. Now, I checked with Victor Test. He has no fearsome presence on any of these champions. And the chance for you to get polymorphed like that is 59%, okay? So the RNG is kind of like a bit of a pain, you know. You can do thousands of fights, still it evens out. But just as an idea, with fearsome presence, it will be 68.3% to get polymorph. This is the math made by Seth, you know, and it does look pretty bad, right? Like such a high chance to get polymorph with so many ships. But we're gonna go in, guys. We're not gonna let them buff, and we're quickly going to see what happens. So let's see. Is it still somehow messed up in the coding? And is still going per effect in a way or another. So 1 out of 1, we haven't got polymorphed. Let's see. 9 more fights to go. 9 more fights to go. Okay. 1 out of 2, we got polymorphed. Let's go again. Let's go again. 8 more to go. We're gonna go fast with them, guys. We're not gonna waste any time because this video, I think, is gonna end up in being pretty long. Okay, so 1 out of 3 we got polymorphed. Now, it still might be just the RNG that plays in our favor a bit better, but I have a feeling that something is just not working as intended in the coding. You know, at the moment, it's kind of like 50-50, which, let's just say, is the right thing to happen, you know. So 2 out of 4 we got polymorphed. What happens now? 3 out of... Oh no, we defeated the team. 3 out of 5 we got polymorphed, right? Yep. Okay, it's better here at the top. I don't have to scroll down. Saves me more time. 3 out of 5. Let's see. Okay. 3 out of 6. At the moment, it's 50-50. At the moment, it's 50-50. Okay. 4 out of 7. 4 out of 7. It does look a bit better now. It looks a bit better than before when we were letting them buff, right? Okay, 4 out of 8. 4 out of 8. What do we have this time around? Let's see. Five out of 9. 5 out of 9. This seems to be more even out now that he's now removing any buffs. Okay, and 6 out of 10. I'm actually tempted to do another 10. I'm super tempted to do another 10. Because I don't know. Seeing it so close. So 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. Let's see. 6 out of 11. 6 out of 11. Hopefully I have enough points so I don't derank again. 7 out of 11. 7 out of 11. I'm so curious if it's still per action somehow. Something broken in the coding. 7 out of 12 or 13. What is it? 7 out of 13. Okay, so we are close to the actual percentage that it should be. That's for sure. 7 out of 14, so that's 50-50. This definitely kind of like shows that something odd is happening when we are removing the buffs and stuff. It was just such a higher chance for it to proc, right? So what is it? 8 out of 15. 8 out of 15. And we have 5 more fights. I'm gonna call it here, guys. Do let me know in the comments down below as well what do you think too, you know, like does it seem a bit odd, or you think it's just the RNG messing it up? So we had 8 out of 15, 8 out of 16. You see how even is the RNG this time around that we're now removing buffs? Like, it's exactly how it should be, near the 50% chance. 8 out of 17. What about now? Okay. 8 out of 18. Maybe it's just the RNG, and now it's evening out for the previous fight. Okay. 8 out of 19, right? 8 out of... Yeah, so maybe it's just RNG. Maybe it's just RNG and it's not per effect. Maybe it was just not evening out, you know? How I mentioned, you need to do an insane testing in order to get the correct data. You need thousands of fights to get to it, because the RNG needs to really even out. And that's something that I cannot do. I'll rather wait till tomorrow and see the coding. But we've got 9 out of 20 polymorphs. So the RNG is definitely looking good. The chance to get polymorphed against a team like this is 59%. So we are actually getting under polymorphed, because it's not proccing as often. Before was proccing too often. I think it was just probably the RNG messing up. But either way, I do think for the higher end arena, this is a buff to polymorph, just because they've added all those extra stats to all of the blessings. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. As usual, appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Much love, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.